Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of Comics. I'm your host, Andre Salazar. I am so excited to talk to you guys today about one of the greatest, most influential European artists, or globally artists, Milo Manara. We're going to talk about some Milo Manara today, and we'll start at the beginning. Milo Manara is 72 years old. He was born 1945. Came from a painting background, so he was a painter, and then in the 60s and 70s he kind of shifted his focus into comics. At the time, called fumetti neri. Fumetti neri being kind of these dark comics, mature comics, which was really popular at the time. Dark Horse has collected a lot of these in these collections. They call the Manara, I think it's just called the Manara collection, the Manara library. I've got the first two here. A lot of his work, Milo Manara's work, is seen in heavy metal. So this has a really big story in it with his work, which we'll cover on another episode. And heavy metal's also collected some of these stories in these kind of hardcover bound version books. He's known for a lot of cheesecake erotica comics. He's up there with John Gerard, with Mobius, Droulet, a lot of these other European artists. He is definitely in the conversation of some of the best, right? Italian guy, brilliant line work, really great art. Reminds me again a little bit of, Mobius, also Miyazaki in his line quality. Today, I want to talk about a story in this called El Gaucho. And this came out, I believe, in the early 90s. And it is brilliant. And I want to talk about El Gaucho today by Milo Manara, because he is definitely a comic master. So I hope you guys are all wonderful today. I hope you're all safe during everything that's been going on. And join with me as I do a deep dive and we uncover the mysteries, the magic, and the wonderful artistry and storytelling of Milo Manara's El Gaucho. Let's do it. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited about this. I've been holding this one in my back pocket for a little while, and I'm a big fan of Milo Manara's work. I think he is, he's just one of the best. And when we think of Milo Manara, and this one scripted by Hugo Pratt. By the way, there was going to be potentially more stories after this about the main character, Tom Brown. And at the end, you'll know what I mean. But Hugo Pratt passed away shortly after this was finished, so we never got more of these. But I would have loved to see and read more about Tom Brown and this kind of historical look of the world in Argentina and that kind of thing from his perspective. Unfortunately, we never got more, but I would love to have seen a El Gaucho #2 or something like that. One of the things when we think about Milo Manara, when I look at his work, first off, he has a beautiful, beautiful sense of backgrounds, of location, and the detail, the beautiful work he does of these vistas are just really, really cool. And he's not using, I would say, a lot of different crazy tools and techniques. I think a lot of it is maybe one or two different drawing implements that he uses. He's not putting a lot of different textures and things from different types of instruments. He's just using his pen or his quill and going to town. When you think of Milo Manara, you think of line quality. And what I mean by that is the ability to kind of see the line, not as necessarily these kind of clean, quick lines, but really have a line quality to it, a surface, volume, and contour line that he really masters along with, I'm going to say again, Mobius and Miyazaki. I think those three are masters of line quality and really showing the contour lines, really showing how these beautiful artwork can be done. I just love his stuff. The story starts off, we'll go through the story. I just want to say that right off the bat. Story starts off with these Spanish soldiers going to an aboriginal kind of village. This is in Buenos Aires in Argentina, and they're going to speak to one of the elders there. And it turns out that they're working on this kind of trade or this negotiation, very similar to what happened to the Native Americans, where they were, given certain parcels of land and kind of stripped of their main kind of habitats. Same thing in South America. And they find this elder that's there that happens to be British, blue-eyed guy. And they're like, who's this guy? And he says, I'm from England. I was a Brit. And my name was Tom Brown. And he has like a reporter type of a soldier with him, like a stenographer, scribe, whatever you want to call it. And he recounts the tale of how he became where he is. And this story is his story as he first came to Argentina, told by this soldier. He started out as this drummer boy in the winter of 1806. Now, 1806, there was an occupation. There was occupation of the Spaniards in Buenos Aires, and then the British. So there were some conflicts, some battles, some wars, and this is very historically accurate and kind of historical look at it. That's what I love too, is I love history. I love looking at this stuff, and he really goes into some very, strong details on the story of this land, and I thought it was really cool. Can we just talk also about costuming? The costumes are wonderful. The details, the Navy versus the Army, this is English troops, just seeing how all this is played out. The coloring is great. I love this detail. Look at this. Isn't this just fabulous? I mean, this is just fabulous work. Just look at the lines here. It's just badass. Now, he could have used some photography, but I'm thinking he did not. I don't know what he used for references, but a lot of this probably is composed of various images or models or things to kind of create these shots. This is all before Google Images and things like that. He had to figure it out. It's just brilliant stuff. So we get heavy into the history of the story, right? So it is a story of taking over this land from the Spanish. There's a mention of these lodges. So there are taxes, there's these lodges, and they're talking about Freemason lodges. The Freemasons had lodges or groups in, all the major kind of industrialized countries, in England, in France, in Spain. And so they're talking about these different lodges. Now, what's interesting too is they talk about these I just want to read a little bit here. It says, "By Jove, if that is the only rub, we shall surely find a solution, Sir William. But I must point out to you that the Great American Union Lodge, so they're talking about Freemason Lodge, in London, founded by General Miranda, counted among its original members O'Higgins, Bolivar, Lord Macduff, Lord Melville, Lord Wellington, Pitt, and myself." These people are all like radical leaders of, revolutionary types. Simon Bolivar, he was a Mason. He kind of liberated Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, maybe Peru. I'm not sure if Peru was part of that, or Bolivar, of course. Bolivia. So Bolivia, Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela for sure, those four. And there might have been Paraguay too, I'm not sure. So that whole northern part of South America, Simon Bolivar is a huge, huge national hero. and he was a revolutionary guy, and he was a Mason. So they're talking about this lodge who had all these like, you know, leaders, and they're one of them too, right? They're part of this group. They're British, and they're going to go liberate, or at least control, however you want to frame it, Argentina. So really kind of cool, like political intrigue, and they're talking about, well, there's the Spanish are there still, and they're part of a lodge as well, and then he's talking about these whores that they got, and so they brought these like Irish women along with them as kind of comfort women that they will be using that evening as well. Then we move into kind of some of our main characters. One of them will be Clegg, or Clag. I'm going to call him Clag, I guess. Clag, he's a soldier, not an officer, but he's part of the army. And Hunchback, Matt, or Matthew, they're kind of partners, if you will, and their job right now is to clean the prostitutes prior to their evening work that they'll be doing with the officers. So this is where Milo Manara also is kind of well known. He is known for erotica. He does a lot of, he's just known for that kind of cheesecake and erotica comics. And so you'll see the positioning and the rendering of the women in the comic is sexy time, you know, and it's sultry and all those things, the way their legs are and everything. So it's kind of in that vein. We have a little tit for tat here. They're kind of arguing a little bit about how to clean the women, all that jazz. They find out that one of the cabin boys was sexually assaulted by one of the officers. So there's going to be some payback with that, and they're not going to be down with that. So while this happened, it was not necessarily everyone was kosher with that, and so there'll be a receipt for that. Here's, very graphic kind of anatomy that he'll put in there, and kind of just to add some adult, I guess, sensibilities to it. Some of it feels a little gratuitous, but some of it makes sense, maybe not all of it. Then we meet these two main characters, Tom Brown and Molly. Molly is Irish. She's like kind of the most sought after of the whores. She, the main kind of captain on the ship has her as his mistress. And so there's a romance here, but yet Tom is feeling cheated that she does this, right? And Matt the Hunchback, which similar to kind of Tyrion from Game of Thrones. A dwarf is always a bastard. A hunchback is always a bastard here. And he's just like, look, kid, she's doing what she has to do to survive, right? So she has to whore it up to live. And so you got to deal with it. And if you love her, you're going to have to deal with that. And so they kind of like hit each other. But he smacks him because he's called a liar. But then he says, look, at least you're not a hunchback and you have a solid skull. Come, let's have a look at that wound. So there is a kind of companionship there, a friendship, or at least a level of respect that they have. Here they're talking again, going back to the money that's needed to finance this operation. So he talks about 1/3 of whatever they seize, whatever kind of money or tesoro or gold they get in Argentina. 1/3 of it goes to the crown, 1/3 of it goes to the Masons, and 1/3 of it goes to the Royal Navy, because the Navy drops off the Marines and Army, and the Army go out and do the job on the ground forces. And so they're kind of battling how are they going to work that out, and should they, incorporate other lodges who might be interested, like the Independence of the Southern Cross Lodge, things like that. Now we move back into the evening. The girls are coming to do their job, and there's some debauchery going on. Matthew, here's where we see Matthew spying on Molly, the Irish filly, with the kind of lead I forgot what his, like a viceroy or something like that, or admiral, and filthy old bastard. So there's a little bit of jealousy there, and we will learn more about how he does care for her. Again, beautiful shots. Now we're going to go on land. There's going to be an investigation of what ground troops are the natives and those who are aligned with the Brits. Who can they use, right? How many forces on the ground right now would turn on the Spaniards and go with the Brits? So they're going to kind of go see what the natives numbers are like. The drummer boy Tom's going to go with them, and he's going to wind up being hostage. Molly finds out about it, screams out for him. Look at this beautiful face, beautiful panels, just great imagery. I mean, great acting, great facial work. I just can't do this stuff. It's just beautiful stuff. She yells out for him, and he just ignores it. He's too heartbroken. She doesn't understand why, and he's like, perhaps he has his reasons. And you know, there's a platonic relationship here, but Matthew wishes it could be more. Now we're going to the jungles, and I didn't know the jungles of South America look like this, but because this I thought of like American southern stuff, but no, I guess this looks like South America as well. They go in, they find some of the locals, they see what their forces are, they see there's only like 3,000, not nearly enough that's going to be needed to overthrow the Spaniards. They were hoping for more local forces. So they're going to go back and tell the admiral, but Tom is going to stay as their kind of prisoner, for lack of a better word. Not prisoner, but just like hostage. There you go. He's going to stay back for hostage. Matthew is not happy about that. He's like, what do you mean? But now Matthew and Clegg are going to take their vengeance out on this Navy officer that had his way with the cabin boy. And they're going to... This is funny. He's like, what about the soldiers? He's like, "Oi, fellows, would you mind if we, and like, have at it, Hunchback. Our eyes are averted." So the soldiers are like, yeah, go ahead and kill him off. Kill the officer. We don't even care. So they're like, hey, what's up? And just clocks him, stabs him, shanks him, throws him off the freaking bow. So they just straight up killed the admiral. Not saying he didn't deserve it, but I love the soldiers like, no biggie. No matter to us. Here you go. Here's some anatomy again. They're talking about she wants her freedom. This is Molly, you know, and he's like, what will freedom do for you? Not much. Look at this. Just beautiful. You know, this is brush here. You could tell this is definitely brushwork. So he will break out a brush. He uses different stuff. I didn't mean to say he's just using like a tech pen. He's using different things. But it's just so well done. Beautiful line work. The folding, the clothing and folding is some of the best stuff. And he might even be better than Mobius in some ways in this kind of stuff and in the expressions of faces. You know, it's not really a good thing to probably rank people, but it is. So Matthew and Clegg decide, hey, we're going to escape. We're leaving tonight. Forget this place. They're going to be in the middle of a war, and we're just going to get off into Argentina. It's a huge country. We'll be safe. Molly's, take me with you. They're like, okay, I'll let you take me with you, but I want you to dance. She's like, I'll give you my ass. And he's like, nope, I don't want that. I'd rather watch you dance. So, okay, I'll dance for you. And so she's planning on dancing a jig. So they go. Now, back in South America, Tom is there with looks like some kind of a hoodoo, kind of a Santeria type of a ceremony thing going on. We don't really know what Mammy's doing here, but it's going to turn sideways when some soldiers come in and start busting heads. If they're Spaniards, they come in, start busting heads. Tom, he starts killing, you know, defending himself, and they grab him and like, hey, who's this British guy? Guess what? You're our prisoner. We're not even gonna play with you. And what are you doing? Oh, we know there's a boat. There's a armada outside our city. Yeah, we're taking you. We're gonna find out who those troops are and how many you got. Meanwhile, back on the boat, she does her dance with the girls. Beautiful work, by the way. Wonderful, wonderful work here. I love the expressions. Each one's different. Great clothing. Then we get introduced to this other character, this other young lady called was it Aureliana? Aureliana. It's kind of a tricky one. Aureliana, she is a young girl who has some nobility to her. She slapped this officer who's kind of a scoundrel cretin that's going to come back to haunt her, unfortunately. This is classic Milo Manara. His simplistic, reductive nose drawings are just, the women are always these great, sultry eyes with just like 2 dots for nose. That's how he does it, like always. That's like, you can always tell a Milo Manara woman, it's like no nose. I think quietly reminds me a little bit of that too. He kind of like, I think, takes some notes from that. Anyway, she's the same age as Tom Brown, and she like wants, she kind of like feels that because they're the same age that he shouldn't be assassinated and shot. So there's a little bit of connection there. One of the old guys at the village talked to him about what's going to be going down right now here pretty soon. The scoundrel who was grabbing at Aureliana, he wants to have his way with her, and that's going to happen according to his desires. They take off. They need to go to the next town, leave the scoundrel alone with the girl, which is enough to cause some havoc. Meanwhile, our friends back on the boat do escape. So Molly with a couple other girls, along with Matthew and Clegg, leave the boat, and now they've escaped. They're fugitives, or deserters rather, and they're on the land, and they're looking for, we got to find Tom. Matthew, the hunchback, can speak Spanish, so he's good. He's going to go investigate. He finds out there was a battle. He sees Tom's like army squad's like crest. Finds out that he's okay. Tom's okay, but he's captured. He's going to go work for them, try to get that worked out. Beautiful again here. This is kind of a horrific scene, but Milo Manara is not afraid to go into this world. And so this happens. Heinousness. Matthew sees it though. And with the heinousness comes revenge again. Stab in the balls, stab in the eye, he's dead. Matthew saves the day, although a little late. Beautiful acting again. This and all these are just wonderful. He took photos. He's got to have taken photos of this, especially this one. Wonderful acting, very powerful imagery. He's gonna help them. Now they're invading. Like, what's that? I hear earthquake. What is this? Not earthquake. That's cannons. The British have attacked. So you have this dilemma. You have a story of the human tale of love lost, the miscommunication, the young love of feeling rejected and feeling like your loved one is now a whore, and I didn't know that, and I feel rejected, and I'm leaving you, and Molly leaves to go find him and be together. That's the story all on the backdrop of this war, right? Of this invading army that's coming. And so it's beautifully done, really well told, great action scenes, and just all these, I love the folds here on these pants. Really good stuff. I think this was also, this might have been in an issue of Heavy Metal. I would not be surprised, probably was. The Brits have won. the British have won, and they're like, okay, since you're a British guy, I'm gonna let you go, but don't, you can go. If you join them, we're gonna take you back because the Spaniards are not gonna sit around. We're gonna take you back, or you can be our friends and work together. So there's that kind of question if they're going to work together or not. He meets up. He sees Clegg. He sees Matthew. He sees Molly, and it's like there's no love here. There's no like connection of Molly and Tom coming together. It's not like star-crossed lovers where I did all these things for you. It's still this distance. There's still this very real feeling of hurt, right? They're both very hurt, even though they care for each other. So there's conflict there. Now, they're gonna go though. They're gonna go with the girls and go to create an inn, some kind of brothel of some sort. And he's like, "No, you're not taking Molly. Molly's coming with me." And Clegg's, "No, she's not." And so they battle. They're like, "No, I brought her here. She's part of me." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to kill you." They have a knife battle. This is great action. Stab, stab. Clegg dies. Great frame here. He's dead. I'm sorry, but it was his fault. And then she's like, "Will it never end?" And then Matthew's like, you didn't have to do that. That was dumb, because he would have gave you Molly. So that was real stupid. And I love Molly, and I can't be with you, and I'm leaving. And so Matthew leaves. He's like, "I'm going to another city because I want to be with Molly. She loves you, and you shouldn't have killed Clegg. That was dumb. I'm out." And we don't really see, but Aureliana, she kind of felt for Matthew, and that would have been a relationship perhaps that he missed out. So there's a lot of like missing boats, ships in the night. There's these moments in relationships that just aren't connecting on a human level or missing each other, and that's just super sad on how that worked out. But he does go. He leaves. He goes with Molly, but again, look at the body language. They're not together, not hugging. There's no kiss. There's no relationship here. They're still very hurt. It's still an issue of why did you do that? Why can't you be humble enough to be with me? That kind of a thing. Well, they come to the next port, and the British are still in control, as you recall. And they're like, "Hey, I remember you girls. You guys deserted. You guys should have been there on the boat. What happened?" So they get busted. Tom's fine. Tom's like, "Okay, you were a prisoner during the battle. We understand. You're free to go." These 4 girls, they have crimes, and they're going to have to pay for their crimes of desertion during this. And that's the way that is. And he's like, "No." Now, here's a moment. This is important. They go to take her away. Take away the girls. They're taking her away. And he's like, "Do something, Tom." She's like, "Do something, Tom. Help us." And he yells. He says, "They have nothing to do with this. I will not, calm myself." He runs. He looks for the admiral. Foham. Foham is the admiral that was using Molly. He runs to the admiral. He tries to explain to them that she is the admiral's whore. It does not go well. He gets 20 lashes instead. They do not listen. They do not care. This is so tragic. He's like, "You've slept a whole day." "Well, I hope you're happy." Or, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Sorry, they hanged her. All you did was make things worse for her by telling them that. They hanged her. She's dead." "Where is it?" "Right next to the other guy that died, that they hanged. They captured Matt, hanged him. They captured her, they hanged her." And Molly's like, I tried, Molly, I tried." It's tragic. It's in the rain. It's a beautiful scene. It's just he missed out. And that's the end, where then we go back to there. "This could indeed be the beginning of a long story, senor." What happened then? The soldier's recording all this. "After that, I no longer remember very well. Old age has caught up with me." Beautiful last shot. Beautiful scene. In depth. A lot of layers. and this is super sad. And I would love to have seen more of these stories and what happened after that. It's very tragic, extremely well rendered. Milo Manara is indeed a comic book master. We'll definitely talk about more of his work. And I want to thank you guys all for watching and checking this out. I hope you guys have a great day. Check out my other videos I have every Tuesday and Saturday. I have new videos coming out. Be safe during this crazy time, and tell your story. Thanks. Bye.